So, hello everyone, and welcome to the next edition of the Renny Show. Hello, Jenny.
Hello, Rachel. How are you this evening?
I'm very good, thank you. And yes, that gives away a bit of a clue that we are having to pre-record again, because where are we going to be on Wednesday when we should be doing our show, Jenny?
We are going to be at the Fab Network. And for anybody who hasn't tried the Fab Network before with Lisa Newport, it is the most fantastic place to be if you are female, if you are authentic, and if you are ballsy, and you want to try a community with a difference, then please let Rachel or I know, because we are the proud possessors. Is that a word? Possessors?
Yes, it is
We
now.
are
Yes.
in. It is now. We are in possession of golden tickets. Golden tickets. So we can
freebies.
we can let you into the meeting for nothing. Wednesday's meeting is online. But of course, if you're only listening to this on Wednesday, that won't really help you. But they are every month. 2 meetings a month. They are every month, and they are a fabulous way to spend some time.
The clue is in the name. The Fab Network is fabulous. We both love it.
So if you want to know more about it and you'd like to be part of it, or even have a try, dip your toe in the water, see if you like it, see if it's your thing, then please let us know, because we would be only too happy to avail you of a golden ticket.
Absolutely. Oh, fabulous. Okay, so so I guess we best get on with things then. So we'll pretend it's Wednesday lunchtime, which it is Wednesday lunchtime. Of course it is. It's not Monday evening. So I shall go straight in there with the first question. And it's quite a gentle one to start with, because I think I went in a bit hard last week, maybe with my first question. So I've gone a bit easy. So the first question: what's your favourite way to have eggs, Jenny?
Well, I love eggs. I do. I'm very partial to an egg. I think if you pushed me into just choosing one, because I like eggs anyway, really. I like them in cakes. I like them scrambled, all of that. But my very, very, very favourite is poached. I love a poached egg.
Yeah, and I have to say, we are on the same wavelength, Jenny, because poached egg would be my egg of choice. I don't know how to make them. I've never successfully poached an egg, so maybe you can give me some tips. But poached eggs, and especially if it's got, is it hollandaise sauce you have on?
If you're doing something like eggs Benedict or something like that.
I'm pretty keen on that as well. But yeah, a nice soft poached egg. Oh, heavenly.
Well,
I've never successfully made one.
Well, I have discovered how to do this. So if there are any chefs listening, close your ears, because it's probably all wrong. But how I do poached eggs is that I get a piece of cling film.
Okay.
And I put a very tiny little bit of oil or melted butter on the cling film. I then gently rest it in a mug. And I break the egg into the cling film, and then I twist it together.
Make a little bundle,
like that. And then I place it in gently boiling water. And the end of the cling film, I just kind of hook over the edge of the pan. And then you just let it cook to your desired consistency. You can see the white getting, more and more opaque as it cooks. And then when it's ready, you just whip out the cling film, and you open it, and your poached egg is just there in the cling film, and you just slide it onto some lovely toast.
I might have to give that a try.
I don't know if that's the right way to poached egg, but I have tried many other ways and failed dismally. So that is my tried and tested way for doing beautifully wonderful poached eggs.
Well, that's good enough for me, Jenny. And if anyone else wants to make any comments about any fantastic ways, foolproof ways, because that's what we're after, is foolproof ways for making poached eggs. If you've got any other methods, let us know. But I'm going to give that a go, and I'll let you know how I get on.
And apparently the secret is to have the water, it's a gentle boil, not too boily, but just a gentle boil to poach in.
Right.
I'm sure there is an ambient poaching temperature, which I don't know what it is, but I'm sure there is one. But anyway, I'm sure somebody who's listening, or some friend of somebody who's listening, will be able to tell us that, won't they?
Fabulous. Yes, absolutely. Okay, great. Well, your turn then, Jenny.
Well, mine is maybe slightly kind of left of centre.
Okay.
But I was really interested. I am really interested, and I'm always interested in random acts of kindness.
Okay.
And we hear about them a lot, don't we?
Yes.
And I wondered, when was the last time that you had either been on the giving or the receiving end of a random act of kindness, and what it was, and the impact that it had on you?
Okay. So I'm going to just quickly type that.
Sorry, that's quite a thing to type, isn't it?
Yeah, get that scrolling across. Hang on, there we go. Hey, the technology works. There you go. Acts of kindness, which obviously are incredible things. I think the first thing that springs to mind for me is I really make a point of telling people in the street, if they look fantastic or just something about them gives off this aura of either contentedness or, you know, something fantastic, then I make a point of telling them, because how lovely is it to hear nice things about the way you look or the way you're acting, you know, the way you come across. And I always think, you know, you never know what's going on for someone, do you, underneath everything? So I would always rather make the comment, you know, that at the risk of it not being well received, because you never know, but I'd always rather make the comment than not, because you never know what it might do for that person's day. So that's probably what springs to mind the most for me.
And that's really funny, because I was in town the other day, and somebody said that to me. So being on the receiving end of a random act of kindness, so somebody taking the trouble to say, you just look amazing. I love that colour combination. Thank you, Lisa.
Fantastic.
I love that colour combination. It's fabulous, and you just look, you know, you look amazing. And I suppose the impact, and as you say, you never know what's going on in somebody's world, but to have somebody take the time to say that was, I felt like $1 million. It kept me, well, I'm still talking about it. So I think just something as simple as saying how lovely somebody looks, or you find, you know, that they have an aura about them, or they just look wonderful, or you know, whatever you say, is can make a huge difference to somebody's day, or even their week, or their month.
Yeah, absolutely. And there was a time I never would have dreamed of saying that to a stranger in the street, and now I kick myself if I don't say it. So it's gone completely the other way.
So I think it is good, and I think that it's that thing about human connection, isn't it?
Yes.
That even a stranger noticing somebody, it's a bit like smiling at somebody who's you know, looks a bit sad. Just somebody smiling at you, or saying how are you, or noticing, or
definitely
noticing.
And you know, that generated a really interesting conversation with my youngest, who's 9, a few months back, because again, when I'm walking her to school or just walking around the village, I will make a point, you know, particularly because it's the place we live, of smiling or saying good morning, good afternoon. And she had seen me do it a number of times, and it generated a really interesting conversation, because of course children are taught, as you know, we all teach them to not talk to strangers, you know, stranger danger and all the rest of it. And here's me talking to all and sundry as they come past. And sometimes it might be someone who does look a bit either grumpy or doesn't want to talk, or they're maybe nervous that they don't want to talk. There could be any number of reasons they don't want to actually talk. But I just think the simple act of smiling at them and saying hello, it's one of those things that just might make all the difference. And it was interesting to have the conversation about, well, in this context, it is fine to say hello to a stranger, but I'm an adult and they're an adult, which is a different thing to the stranger danger that we teach children about. But yeah, interesting one. Yeah,
it is, isn't it? Who knew? There you go. So if you have any favourite random acts of kindness, listeners, then listeners, lurkers, watchers, we would love to know what they are, and what's your favourite place to be randomly kind.
Yeah, absolutely, because it might inspire us, and it might inspire some of the other listeners, watchers, viewers, if whatever the right word is, as well. Okie dokie. Right, so I shall move on to my next question then. A very topical one, given the fortnight that we're currently in. Are you a Wimbledon fan?
I am. I am, and I have been incredibly fortunate to have been
I'm going to be really jealous now, aren't I?
Yeah, an attendee on centre court, and in fact, one of my dear friends, Geraldine, who bought me for a big birthday a centre court ticket for Wimbledon. So we spent the day at Wimbledon together. Obviously, it wasn't on the date of my big birthday because my big birthday was at the beginning of COVID, and so it was a few years later. But no less fabulous for the keeping. And I love Wimbledon. I love the tennis. I love it all. I love the walking around the grounds, the flowers, just the whole kind of thing, the excitement, the buzz,
the whole experience.
Quintessentially Wimbledon-ness of it.
British. Yeah, absolutely. I'm right with you.
I love it. And the amazing I love tennis, but I love watching tennis. So I've been to other tennis competitions. But there is, Wimbledon is it, isn't it? There doesn't get
absolutely. And I've been a Wimbledon fan and tennis fan for a long time. I've never been to Wimbledon itself during Wimbledon fortnight. However, in 2012 for the London Olympics, we got tickets for Olympic tennis. So not quite the same thing, but it's at Wimbledon. So, it's still brilliant.
I think it's close enough.
It's close enough, yeah. And we got to sit on centre court. We were spotted on the TV, which was very exciting. And we saw Andy Murray play, and we saw Roger Federer play. I mean, I was just like a pig in muck, very, very happy. But I would love to go back and actually go when it's the Wimbledon fortnight and be a part of that. I just think it's a brilliant fortnight. Great TV.
It is, and there's all the people who make it happen. So yes, there's the tennis players, but it's there's a huge shout out to all the people the guides, the ticket people, the people who man all the stalls, the gardeners, the florists, the medical teams who look after the players, all of the people who are working so hard, because it isn't just Wimbledon fortnight, is it? It's the run up beforehand, the tidying up afterwards. So all of those people who contribute and who make it happen, and who point people in the right direction a million times a day, and it make the atmosphere so special, and clear up after everybody. And
which must be a thankless task.
It is an amazing it's an amazing experience, and I feel very very honoured to have been part of that. I've been a few times, and yes, I watched Andy Murray on centre court, so I feel it was great. He does what he always does, isn't it? It's very stressful watching him play. Very stressful watching him play. He puts us all through the ringer.
Yes.
But
Every
you
time.
can't, you can't take your eyes off it. So yes, there is, and there are so many fabulous players, and it's just a great institution, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. And you've got to love a bit of strawberries and cream as well. So it's all good. Right, your turn.
So Michael, it kind of links randomly,
Okay.
Because it's tiny habits. So my question is about, we often say, don't we, that it's the tiny little things that you do over and over again, that then become habits that build a way of being. And I know that athletes do that. It's incremental tiny things that they change or that they do that they then build on. So I just wondered if you have a favorite tiny habit that you would that you're prepared to share, that you feel has been really, it's really, it might be very little, but it's really important to you.
My favorite tiny habit that is really important. Okay, just typing that one in and add banner and get it on the screen. There we go. Favorite tiny habit. There's probably quite a few, but I'm instantly drawn to talk about gratitude, because I only discovered the practice of gratitude at the beginning of 2019, and it just has become such an important thing. I always thought I was pretty glass half full, pretty positive, and I am. But the practice of gratitude, which can be a really small thing of just writing a few quick things of a morning or of an evening if you prefer, but that habit made me so much more able to appreciate things that I have in my life, and to acknowledge that even when the chips are down, there's always something to be grateful for. Even when it's the most awful time you could possibly imagine, if you actually sit and think about it, there is still something to be grateful for. And I love the fact that some days it might be, I'm grateful that I had a good sleep. I'm grateful that I've just had a hot shower, and I'm grateful I've got the breakfast I want. How lucky am I? But the more you do it, that little tiny habit, I think it becomes easier, doesn't it, to think of the much bigger, wider things that we're grateful for, and why we're grateful for them. What are they actually bringing to our lives that make them something that we're so grateful for? So yeah, that's probably an obvious one to talk about, but yeah, gratitude's definitely.
I think for many people, it isn't obvious. So I think it's a really good.
True.
It's one of mine too. But the other one, and I discovered that, so mine is making my bed.
Okay.
I make my bed every morning.
Yeah.
Properly, and I don't know whether that's from years of training as a nurse, because bed making used to be a thing in the olden days.
Hospital corners,
as hospital corners, and bed making. There were nursing competition. There were competitions about how fast and how accurately you could make a bed, and there were many rules associated with making beds. Before the advent of duvets. So I don't know whether it's a habit that came from there, but I discovered, and if I'd been smarter and more organized, I would have found the book. But there is a book called Make Your Bed, and it's one of those it's one of those kind of key habits that are really it's very useful for entrepreneurs and things, and it's about that kind of structure and organization. And the man who wrote it was a very senior commander, I think, in the Royal Navy.
Okay.
But that kind of he wrote a book about kind of habits that were very useful for successful entrepreneurs and business owners, and the first one I found out was make your bed. So that was an I was accidentally doing the right thing, but I do notice that, and you might be the same. I know I am the same with gratitude. That if I don't do it, I feel slightly off all day, because it doesn't feel right.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I mean, I can go without making the bed, but I then feel really disappointed when I go to bed because the bed's not made. And so I perhaps feel it at a different point in the day, but it's not as nice approaching a bed that hasn't been made. I don't know why, because you're going to unmake it and get in it. It's, shouldn't make any difference, but it does. So I'm right with you on that one. Yeah. And I have heard that a lot before, particularly, having a military background, but I've heard that in it from a number of different military sources about setting your day up right by making the bed first thing.
Yeah,
absolutely. So yeah, I'm with you on that.
So I will find the book reference, and I will pop it in our chat underneath the show. So I will do that.
Fantastic. Sounds good. Okay. Right. So I guess it's my turn again. So my next question is, what self-care tip would you share with us?
Ooh. I think a problem shared is a problem halved. So that would be my self-care tip. I think for many of us, sharing a worry, it doesn't have to be a problem, sharing a thing, whether it's a problem, a worry, a thought, something that's, just making us feel a little uncomfortable. I think so many of us have over the years been conditioned to think that doing that is somehow weak. And that we should be able to solve it all by ourselves, and we shouldn't need to talk about it with other people. And my experience is that when you are courageous enough to be vulnerable and you share it, that there is the most amazing network of support. And it isn't about doing it for you, or people can't always make what's going on better, but actually having somebody who can just sit with you, be with you, hold you, listen, is just such an act of self-care, recognizing that we're stronger together.
Yes, it comes back to that human connection, doesn't it?
And that being able to, so my invitation to self-care is that if you ever feel like there is nobody who cares, or nobody who you can share, I would ask to remember that there is always somebody who will listen, and somebody who cares about you.
Yeah, absolutely. That's so true. Yeah, I really love that, and I couldn't agree more. Funnily enough, we agree again.
One of these days, sometime we may find something.
Yeah, there'll be something really controversial. Yeah. Oh dear. But yes, it's so important to share these things. I'm, if anything, I'm perhaps an oversharer, but there are also times where I have forgotten to share, because you're so busy with what you're doing, and you just think, right, well, I've just got to get on with it. And, that's great. But having awareness of the fact that you really ought to be finding the right person to share it with, to offload a bit, the problem shared, problem halved philosophy, so important. And quite often it's my mum that will give me the nudge, because she knows that, you know, things are not quite right and that I need to share it, and that will help. And sometimes you just maybe need that little nudge to get going. So consider this your nudge, folks. If there's something on your mind, then consider this a nudge to find that person to talk to about it. So in terms of self-care then from me, I'm going to share a very topical tip, because I've started doing it, because I realised that my self-care in recent months hasn't been what I would want it to be. And ironically, I was coaching a fairly new client last week, and they wanted to get back to running because that had once brought them a lot of enjoyment. And I could hear myself saying things like, okay, so how could you start that and it not be overwhelming? What would work for you? You know, having a plan is a really good idea. Having some accountability is a really good idea. And I'm sat there thinking, yeah, I actually need to, you know, I need to walk my talk on this one. I need to hear this and I need to act on it. So today was day one of going for a long walk, which, you know, in terms of exercise, it's not going to light any fires. You know, I'm certainly not going to be running a marathon anytime soon. Anyone who knows me knows I'm not a runner. But the enjoyment that I got from spending an hour walking was incredible. I didn't have a plan before I went. I just out the house, turn left, see where I end up. And it was lovely, because some of it was along the road, but some of it was through fields. Some of it was along the beck, which is pretty because, of course, the water and wildlife and, you know, lots of trees over the beck locally. And, you know, it was just really lovely. I could be mindful, you know, I could pay attention to all the little different sorts of flowers and leaves and, you know, the different crops growing in the different fields. And it felt great on so many levels, because it was an hour of exercise, but it didn't feel like exercise because it was also a really nice experience and it was mindful. And yeah, so that was great. So that's my tip. Get out into nature and move. It doesn't have to be running and marathons and, you know, sport billy type stuff. Even just a nice walk, you know, if you can get into the habit of doing something like that, coming back to the habits we were talking about before, you know, this is now going to become my habit. So yeah, that's my tip, is getting out into nature.
Excellent tip. I yes. And it's a really good example, isn't it? We talk, obviously, both Rachel and I are both coaches, and we are both coached.
Yes.
And it's just that thing about the wonderful, I think, one of the many wonderful things about coaching is that the power of coaches to be coached.
Yes.
It's a demonstration of us being able to, you know, walk our walk, talk our, not just talk our talk.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And that we're all growing, we're all, you know, we're all developing, we're all growing. We keep, it's a lifelong endeavor.
Yes, it really is. And we're all human at the end of the day.
Exactly. So it's a great example, double example, right?
Yes. Fantastic. Okay, so your turn.
So that last one, I thought we'd end on a bit of a lighter note.
Okay.
And my question is, your greatest giggle. What makes you? I have spent the weekend with very close, very long-standing. I was going to say old, but that sounds a bit. They're very long-standing. We've been friends for 50 years. 50 years.
That's
so
amazing.
It is amazing.
Old enough, Renny.
No, I know. I was, yeah, it was sadly 50 years, and we have a lot of shared memories and, you know, shared experiences. Some of them ancient, some of them, you know, modern. And we have done a lot of giggling this weekend, a lot of laughs. So my question is, yeah, it is, isn't it? What's your greatest giggle? What makes you laugh, and what's your greatest giggle?
Right. Okay. So I'm quite a simple soul, Anything to do with poo or farting will generally make me laugh like a drain, quite embarrassingly so. And I am at times well known for having a bit of a dirty laugh / loud, annoying laugh, which isn't great, particularly if you're out in public when said laughter happens. But one thing that will never fail to make me have a great laugh is Monty Python, The Life of Brian. That film is, I love how just irreverent and tongue-in-cheek it is. And the first time I watched it, when I was probably 14 or something similar to that, I literally fell off my friend's sofa because I was laughing so much. And, you know, even to the point that when I leave this mortal coil, the song I will go out to is always Look on the Bright Side of Life.
Brilliant. No, I know. And do you know, I love that film so much that I kind of filtered lots of it like you do. And I told my mum how great it was. And I took my mother to see it, completely forgetting how sweary it was. But actually once she got over her shock of because in those days, because it is quite an old film, folks, but those people, swearing wasn't as common as it is now. And so you can imagine my mother was slightly horrified, and I was mortified because I had forgotten all that, but I just remembered the really funny bits, of which there are many.
So many good moments.
So yes, I took my mum.
Brilliant.
But she did love it, so that was great. And it's the puns. There's some such clever puns. I love.
I mean, they were such a clever pun.
Play.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Latin declensions. Who'd have thought they would have been so funny?
Love it. So what makes you giggle then? Obviously, you agree on the Monty Python side of things. Is there anything else in particular that makes you giggle?
I love those terrible terrible one-liners, those awful puns, those very clever business names, you know. There's a fabulous fish and chip shop in New York called Assault and Battery, which I think is hilarious. It just makes, there's a hairdressers, curl up and die. Those kind of clever wordplay never fails to make me giggle. And sadly, also there's terrible. It's really mean. I almost feel I shouldn't say it, but I'm going to. Is those video clips of people, falling off, slipping over on the ice. I know it. Falling off bikes. There's a great one that goes around with a bride and groom who are having a wedding on a pool, and the bridegroom stepped backwards and he went into the pool and the bride followed him. And I know it probably isn't funny. It wasn't funny for them at the time, but it was hilarious to watch. So I wouldn't want anybody to be hurt, but those things where people slip over,
See, I've got really mixed feelings on that. Things like You've Been Framed. So it's all meant to make you laugh, isn't it? But there's just, I can't specify what point it is, but in some of the clips, there's just a point that I'm so worried that they're actually hurt, and I know they're not, because they wouldn't have shown the clip if they'd actually been hurt.
Well, I'm not sure.
Oh, you'd like to think so. Oh, crikey. But if I think someone stands a chance of getting hurt, it makes me cringe, and I don't want to watch. But that physical comedy of people falling over and just making a fool of themselves, they're absolutely brilliant. Yeah, love it.
Yeah, but I don't want people to be hurt, and yet I'm with you. And that's why I said, I almost don't want to say it, because it has to be, and I have done it myself, where I have been walking on ice and done the most, and thankfully I don't think anybody filmed it, but it was in front of a restaurant, and I just slid My feet went from under me, and I
Yeah.
kind of, probably disgracefully, not gracefully, landed with a thud on, and then sort of slid down the rest of the hill
Yeah.
before I kind of
Oh,
stopped
dear.
myself. So it's but yeah, sometimes when nobody's hurt, it is funny.
Yes. It's all right as long as nobody's hurt. But yeah, share with us, folks at home, what you think on that one. We'd love to know your thoughts. But that brings us to the end. It's absolutely flown by yet again. So we will be back on Wednesday, the 26th of July will be our next episode. If you've got any comments that you'd like to make about anything we've said, pop them in the comments, funnily enough, or pop us a hashtag replay if you're watching on replay. And as Jenny mentioned earlier, if you're interested in a golden ticket for female, authentic, ballsy businesswomen to come networking with us, then do let us know and we can sort that out for you. So for now, thank you very much, Jenny. Yet again, it's been a pleasure.
As always, Rachel, thank you. I love our question time together. Probably a lot less controversial than the other question time. Much better for your digestion. And your smile than maybe the other one. So have a fantastic week, everybody, and we look forward to seeing you next time.
Fabulous. Take care, everyone. Bye. Bye.